Billy here, Lights, Camera, Action Figures. At Action Figures on YouTube is my handle. Thunder Punch He-Man on Instagram. And today we have a very special guest, the one and only Brian Flynn from Super7. How are you, sir?
Good. Good to be here, Billy.
Good to see you.
Am I allowed to say Billy, or am I supposed to only say Thunder Punch He-Man?
No. Billy's fine. Yeah, Billy's good. Billy works. Thunder Punch He-Man is a thing of
some people want to be known by their online persona.
Well, Lights, Camera, Action Figures. I got at Action Figures. Think about that. My handle is at Action Figures. That's a
long time ago you signed up for that.
I did. Yes, I did. I made sure I got
12 years old in the working in the pencil factory.
Wow. Do they still have that here at pencil factories? I don't know.
I haven't gone looking for pencil factories, so I can't speak to that with any credibility.
All right. Well, so we are leading up to the week of San Diego Comic-Con. That's right. Friday, the 19th of July. Comic-Con is what, Wednesday?
Starts Wednesday.
Wednesday.
My team's down there starting Sunday. I get down there Tuesday, and then the party starts Wednesday.
Party starts. That's a party for you?
Yeah. It's the Super Bowl, man.
All right.
Super Bowl of the nerds. Let's get it on. Let's go.
All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up a few things here, and we're going to go over what. Go ahead.
I realize that here. Sorry. I'm looking at you because we're split screen.
Right.
And I'm on my laptop, so I'm looking here the whole time rather than looking. So I'm moving you over to the center here, so I'm looking at camera.
I'm a larger man. I don't know if you remember or not.
I've met you. Yes.
You've seen me a couple of times. You know, I'm so it's hard to. It doesn't matter where we are on the screen.
Yeah.
You know, it's okay.
Now I'm looking at you and the camera at the same time.
I appreciate that, Brian. Thank you so much.
I want you to have that good quality.
Good. You look a lot better than you used to. You must have upped your camera there, huh?
No, I think we just changed light bulbs.
All right, that makes sense. So, all right, let's do this. Let's jump over here real quick.
What do you want to know about? Come on, Billy. Let's get in.
Well, hold on. I want to get to what I want to get to. I know we're pressed for time, but I don't know. I want to just go over a few things before I get into what I want to talk about, because you know where I'm at. I'm at Thundercats.
All right.
I'll just cut to the.
That's fine. Then be at Thundercats. I don't care.
Well, you got a lot of stuff I'd like to just hop over for a second at least, because is this still supposed to be you?
Yeah, I haven't gone to update the I haven't grayed out the puppet yet, but
for a long time.
I think the rest is fairly accurate. It doesn't have glasses. That's true.
You're missing a couple of things there, but but all right, we're ready to go. So
puppet. Yeah,
I know, but you got to update the puppet. It's like Jim Henson doing half-ass work. You're the man. You got to.
I just got half-ass worked. We're 5 minutes in. I got half-ass worked already.
It's a puppet. You're right. Okay. All right. It's a puppet.
That puppet's from a long time. I think that puppet's from like 2008.
It's a long time ago for sure.
Yes.
So you guys are going to be at booth 2543 at San Diego Comic-Con. Make sure everybody go check them out. They have, are you trying to take over Comic-Con? Like, are you trying to be the Comic-Con attraction? Like the top, almost like Splash Mountain at Disneyland? Like, what's the deal here? Because it's not Splash Mountain anymore, but
still, it was, I don't know. I think Haunted Mansion's best.
Haunted. I was going to. Well, that next one was Haunted Mansion. But are you trying to be the main attraction? Because you put out so much stuff, even on your product reveal days, you don't have everything here.
Am I trying to be the main attraction? No, but am I trying to do the event justice? Yes. Like, and quite frankly, if you will, on the corporate side here, our partners are like, what are you doing for us at San Diego Comic-Con? Gotcha. They want to see their brand represented. Now, we don't do everything for everybody, but it's also like, what's going to be cool? What's going to be special? What's going to be unique? How can we make this moment live up to the hype that you have, especially in your brain around, oh my God, what are they going to come out with San Diego with? How do I twist it and give you something that in a lot of cases, you had no idea was coming. completely unexpected.
And you also, I've heard you a few years ago say you try to bring stuff to the table that a fan doesn't have to have. So it's not something, I've heard you say that, correct? Like you want to make something that people want, but if the completionist is like, I've got to have this, or for some reason they can't get it, it's okay because it was a push in. You know what I mean? Like you already have.
I'm not going to give you that. I'm not going to come to a limited event or anything else with like a core piece of the line that you would be missing if you don't have.
Correct. I've heard you say that. So that's
100%. Like if this was the only time on earth you could get Mumra, that would be like, what are you doing?
What are you doing? Yeah. Why?
Exactly. How am I supposed to collect this line when I can't get Mumra?
See, now I got to jump right to it because I'm gonna forget if I don't. So we're gonna go right. I'm gonna actually skip. I'm gonna skip these. Let's look. I already had it up. I mean, I had it up.
The eyes light up.
I'm gonna come back to him just for a second. So the chest piece on Mumra and the eyes will light up.
Yep.
I told you a little while ago, I broke apart a figure actually for this just to show people like the wiring system. Now yours is going to be different.
Yes.
You're not going to be like with the wires inside. You're not going to be using the ring to light the figure.
Correct.
People aren't familiar. There's some confusion online. I've seen some comments. People are asking, okay, it states that they can pre-order at the con.
Right.
And there's a limited quantity who can order on Monday after the con.
Well, in both of these cases, there's a certain quantity that we're planning on making, and we were hoping they would be here by San Diego. They're going to be here a little late. It's
okay.
Whether that's 3 weeks or 5 weeks, and it depends on the day, so they didn't make it in time for us to have it on shelf. So if you come by the booth, you can pre-order it, and whatever remaining inventory we will put up online to pre-order until it's sold through. So
is there a chance I could miss this on Monday?
I think if you get in on Monday, you're fine. But if you wait till Wednesday or Thursday, you might not be. Does that make any sense?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you,
like I don't try to make these things, we're having to guess. We're having to prognosticate. We're having to, put Vegas odds against how well we think they're going to do, how many people are going to come after it, kind of thing. So you're having to sort of make an educated guess. So we're trying to make an educated guess of like, how many people want to get that within a certain amount of time, and then it's gone, so that I don't make too many and it sits around for 6 months, but I don't make too few that it's sold out on Wednesday because nobody
wants a purchase limit.
Usually for online stuff, depending on what it is and depending on how strong it is, it'll be one. Sometimes we'll limit it to one. Usually we limit it to two. So if you're that guy that wants one to open and one to keep, that's fine. Or you're trying to save on shipping with your buddy, that's fine. But you can't order 10.
So no, I can't order a pallet of these if I wanted to.
You can't.
All right, let me ask you this. Do we have a price point?
I believe the Lino is 65.
Okay.
I don't remember on Mumra because he's so much larger.
Right.
And
the standard was 75 on the Mumra without the lighted eyes. So
yeah. I think they're $10 more each than regular retail.
Can you tell me how they work at all? Do you know? I mean, are you willing to get into
I know how they work. We've hollowed out parts of the chest, we've hollowed out parts of the head, and then we have basically a light mechanism inside it with the battery component. So you push down on the head, almost like a ball joint.
Okay.
And it turns the light bulb and all the electronics on, and then you push it down and it turns it off.
Okay. So Lionel, when you swap heads, it's just a matter of swapping, and then when you press down, it'll activate the mechanism to light the eyes. Okay. Yeah. Same thing for Mumra, chest and all that. Okay. All right.
That way you don't have a panel in the back and everything else. The batteries are contained inside.
Okay. Are they change? Can you change them out, or once they're gone, they're done?
You can change it out. I mean, it'll take a little bit of finesse, but you can change it out.
All right. Cool.
So we figured that would eventually be a question.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if they're small batteries, LED, they'll probably last for many, many, many years. I was just curious. But yeah, you guys. So I read there's a new buck. So is the new buck on the Lino? Is that from the the mirror Lino the red one, he has the pegless arms and
so if you scroll over to Lino here, you'll see that it's sort of a new sculpt top to bottom is where we've been going.
Okay.
The original first Lino really has that really tight core and really wide, exaggerated pecs and chest. And we wanted to, where that line has moved over 11, waves isn't, is much more cartoon accurate. It's still exaggerated and still stylized to a degree, but much more cartoon accurate. So we wanted to update Lino to where we've gone with the line so that he felt like he fit in more with it.
Okay.
Same thing. So if you've got your original Lino, you don't necessarily need a new Lino.
Well, this one, you got to have this, in my opinion. That's my opinion.
You don't have to. The difference is the eyes light up, that's not necessarily, it's cool. It's awesome, but that doesn't necessarily mean that
you have to have that.
Yeah. You've got a Lino, you're good.
But then, like the slip cover. So I noticed you went back to slip covers. Is it just for these two because of the
usually eyes? On the special versions, we'll do some slip covers, but the regular ones we won't.
All right. And you do have in package. They're not on here on the reveal days, but you have in package images like renders where it shows the lion's head, like the lion cat's lair for Lionel, and then Mumra's tomb, like his teeth around the vintage toy look.
Yeah, on the package. Yeah.
Yeah. So any idea where we going anywhere with that with Mumra down the road with a play set, or are we done with play sets, or what do you think?
I still have to deliver one play set before I consider another play set.
I know you always say that.
But it's true.
No, it makes sense, but I wanted to know. I
know you'd like to know, but
I would love to know.
I don't know that we know.
Good point. All right. So some of the other things here, I'm interested in this.
The Super Cycles.
These are fantastic. Whoever came up with this is amazing because I don't even want this. I mean, I want this. I don't want to buy this, but I'm going to buy one.
Well, thank you for that. This is in the 60s, somewhat in the 60s, but mostly in the 70s and 80s in Japan. You could buy wind-up tricycles of almost every character you could imagine.
Really?
I have probably 50 or 60 of them in the other room that I bought over the years. You get, if you really go back to the 50s and 60s, you'd see American tricycles. There's some tin plate tricycles with Santa Claus and Easter bunnies on them.
Right. I've seen those.
Then you get the Marx Nutty Mad figures, There's 3 different tricycles of Nutty Mads. And Marx also made some superhero tricycles. They made a Thor, they made a Spider-Man, and I believe they made a Batman and a Superman on tricycles. And that's kind of it in America. And in Japan in the 60s, they made a lot more. They were celluloid figures on tin plate tricycles. And that's where you get, they made Gecko Kamen and Silver Kamen and some others. And they made a bunch of sort of the early manga / black and white anime characters onto tricycles. But then when you get into the 70s and you've got the plastic body with the tin wheels and the tin windup, then all of a sudden it was like the floodgates opened, and it was just another form factor for every character. It was like, you're going to get a this, and then make a tricycle.
Well, let me ask you. So I see you've got, monsters on here, and you've got Peanuts. Are you able to do, so when you go to a licensor, you say, hey, I'm making this 10 toy, or however you present it with your team.
Yep.
Do you have to get individual, obviously from each licensor, you have to say, hey, I want to make this. Yep. Does this open up the door, depending on how they do and how they sell, to put other IPs that you have on the table?
Oh, completely. Like I said, if I go into the other room, which we can do that, I just have to come back here because this is where the power.
It's what you want to do, man.
This is where the power is. So toys. Hey, Star Wars posters. Godzilla posters. You want to see something crazy?
Yeah,
so,
you want me to blow you? I'm gonna blow you up, man.
Here for everybody out there. There it is. That is my test shot. That is a test shot Snake Mountain in black and white plastic.
How great is that?
So that's mine.
Wait a minute. Do you remember my conversation with you about a test for LJN style, the toy version?
There's the regular one on display. Some General Dynamics posters.
How much room do you have in this place?
This is the office, man.
I know, but we talked about this. There's room for everything.
Yeah, there's stuff in here. Hold on.
Skateboards on the wall.
Yeah, of course there is.
We're gonna have to do a follow-up, that to this, right?
All right. So hold on. Tricycles. See them all?
Ooh. Wow. Amazing.
So, here, if we're talking about vintage tricycles, once again, there's a couple bootlegs in here, but you've got Astro Boy, Mirror Man, Kamen Rider Amazon, V3, Gecko Common, Red Baron, Spectre Man, Lion Maru. They made, this was a format. This was a style of toy. Now, that style of toy was made for little kids because it's fun and cute. But when the first time I went to Kimono My House, which is, if you're talking about collecting Japanese toys in America, there was Pony Toy Go Round in LA and Kimono My House in Berkeley. First time I went to Kimono My House was 1993 or 1994. I walked in there and there's this racks of weird, Japanese toys, most of which I've never seen before. And in there, I looked at everything, and I had my small pile of money to buy stuff. And I bought 3 or 4 regular vinyl figures and I bought 2 tricycles because I'd never seen them before.
Right.
And they were just so gosh darn cool and cute and weird and unexpected. I had no frame of reference that this was a thing. And then here this thing is fully formed. I'm like, I don't know what this is, but it's so unexpected for me. I'd never in a million years imagined that those 2 things would have come together, much less be made. And yet it works so well. So I've been buying those tricycle toys now for 30 plus years. So in what are we doing next? Where are we going? I was like, I don't know if people are going to like it or not, because it's out there. If you think about it from an action figure toy company, it's out there. I was like, I want to make those tricycles, but with licenses that never got made.
Mm-hmm.
From an American, I'm going to take the same idea, but do it from an American point of view.
Gotcha.
Here's Creature from the Black Lagoon and Peanuts, just to start. Universal Monsters and Peanuts. Like you look at that and you're like, that format, him riding on a tricycle, it feels like vintage Peanuts. This feels like something that could have come out 50 years ago, and you'd been like, oh, of course it came out 50 years ago.
Well, that's why I told you, so when you first walked in 93 in that store and you saw that, that's what the reaction I was just giving you. I didn't want this. And I mean, respectfully.
Yeah.
But it's like, how could you not want that? It's so cool. So I will be picking one up, and just to tinker with it. They work, right?
Yeah. We made it just like it. So the tin wheels, tin bell, tin key wind with metal key, and then you wind it up and the bell will go ding, 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 ding as it drives along.
Yeah. That's awesome, man.
I'm
down for that. I appreciate you sharing that too, by the way, all everything you have back there. That's cool.
Yeah. I don't want anybody to, I'm the first one to say, it's not like I sat around and went like, I have come up with a genius idea. It's like, no different than Reaction Figures or an extension of Kenner line of the Kenner figures of the 80s. I'm saying I want to pick up where they left off on the Tricycle line and keep going.
Correct. With IPs that are actually like something that you're making and that never got a chance to sit on a tricycle. So
we never, while that was a business in Japan in the 70s or 80s, that never came to America.
Yeah. There's some IPs I can think of that would be really cool. I could see sitting on that.
There are a lot, but it's the same thing. The first ones don't come out till San Diego, and it's very much like you know, the response, at least now that people have seen them, has been really good. But like, how many people really are going to be like, oh fuck yeah, I need that.
Yeah, I gotta buy it.
That versus like, that's really cool, that's really fun.
And they move on to the next thing.
Credit card. Yeah,
I got you.
And so once I get a sense of that, then we'll just sort of figure out, you know, where it can go from here.
All right. Well, I think it's cool. I like it.
I think it's cool.
Yeah, I think they're great. Like I told you again, not to keep repeating myself, but maybe I worded it wrong when I said I didn't want it. I want one, so I don't need it. It's not something I collect, obviously, but I don't know. It looks awesome. The artwork is fantastic.
Artwork is great. Artwork is great.
So
yeah,
I've been picking one of those up.
I think that's the thing that, you know, I think we maybe even touched on this when we met in person at Joe Fest. Shout out to Joe Fest. Is that, you know, nobody actually needs anything I make.
Good point.
If it's not bringing you joy and happiness to have it, then you don't need it from me. I'm not making a necessity. I'm making, for lack of a better description, a luxury good.
Yeah.
You know,
everything going on in the world for sure. Like,
yeah.
You know, so you look around you. Yeah.
So if like you've responded to this with joy, it makes you happy. And you didn't even know you wanted it, but
I didn't. No, I didn't.
You reacted to it emotionally. Same thing if we're back in the Joe Fest world, people reacted to the O-ring figures emotionally.
Right.
And that's my job, is really making sure that emotional connection remains. That's why we love these toys, because they bring us that level of joy. And so I hope that, you know, in this case, that's coming through in the product.
It did, for sure. For me, you know, I gave you my probably blunt opinion in the very beginning. I should have been a little more cautious on how I worded it, but I don't want it. I don't need it, but it's so cool that I got to pick one up. And now that you've shown me, see, that's the other thing. You walked through and just showed me a case.
And now you know what a collection looks like.
Right. It's like,
and you're like, oh, and these get
to have like 30 or 40 of those of IPs that I'm interested in or aware of. You know, I didn't really get into, you know, Creature of the Black Lagoon, but you know, Lagoon. It's just awesome that it's sitting on a tricycle. Like, I can see Godzilla sitting on that. Like, let's go. You know, what are we waiting on? So I know we're waiting on, but you get my point.
Yes.
Yeah.
And yes. And yes.
Yes. All right. So we'll go on to reveal 2 here. I like how you did the website, by the way, how you can flip through. This is really cool. So you did the worst figures: notorious, infamous, villainous, disastrous, diabolical. And the X-Men 97-ish, or I don't know. I'm not a big X-Men fan, but I recognize these immediately.
It's a bit of a mashup. This is Dennis. This is all Dennis's idea. Dennis that works for our team. If you look years ago, we did a wave of Star Worst figures, where we had taken worst figures and repainted them to look like vintage toys. And Dennis came up with this idea where you're throwing back not so much to X-Men 97, but really this is sort of Gen 1 X-Men. It's a little bit of a crossover because Wolverine doesn't come till later, and he's in X-Men 98 and Giant Size X-Men 1, and Nightcrawler comes a little later, but they're all throwing back to like old school classic costumes. But yeah, they're homages. They're color scheme homages and nothing more. You know, and in many cases, the bodies of, so there's a figure we have that's called, which is what these are, it's X1, X2, X3, X4, and X5. And it's a robot assassin. And over time, he continually gets evolved. So if you look at what is the silver and red one, that is X1. And he's got this very long, tall, almost steampunky kind of head with this generic, you know, body. Then the next one moves into this bullet kind of cone-shaped head that you would have seen similar kind of things, almost like if you think about Action Man, you know, characters, you know, sort of 70s. Then we've got this clear one with an exposed mechanical brain inside the head, which is very sort of like 80s, 90s sci-fi kind of world. Right. Then you've got the one with the clear red V on the front, which is sort of like futuristic anime. You get a little bit of robot Japan in there. And then the last one is like, okay, what is the very future? And it's this pegs in the back of the head, but these two overlapping circles where the eyes are, these, swirling things sit actually above and outside the head. Okay. But at the core body and character has evolved through the series, if you will. I'm trying to think like here.
Yeah, so you didn't just repaint these or make these like
here's an old,
you went through a process where you looked at each one to move along from 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, so this was the first one we ever released. This was X2.
Okay.
X2 the Unknown. And then later, I'll probably have to get them from someplace else. But then later we did X1, and then X3, then X4, then X5. So in the world of the worst, this X character is, it's a timeline of this particular robot assassin who's constantly upgrading himself through technology.
Gotcha. Yeah, he's constantly progressing as we go.
And then obviously because of the big X that's on his chest, which was originally more just like he's the unknown. That was the whole point.
Right.
X the unknown. It opens itself up to a fun recolor that was completely unintentional. But once Dennis put this together, it was like, it's really hard to argue. You're just like, that's cool. That's fun. That's
even rad. The artwork, the comic book style.
Dennis drew them too.
Did he really?
So, yeah, Dennis came up with the idea, colored it up, and then drew all the card backs. So shout out to Dennis on his.
Yeah, shout out Dennis. Looks great.
Shout out Dennis. Good stuff.
See, this is the thing, like time permitting, we have so much stuff here. Like it's just, we have a little bit of time.
We'll just have to do part 1, part 2.
Yeah, we'll have to come back and catch up, but now this one, I know who this is.
Yeah, I think the story goes live soon.
All right, you want me to hold off on saying who it is?
Because I think we talked about it at Joe Fest, and I don't want to steal the PR thunder on this. Okay. But there's some PR thunder that will come with it. All right, that sounds very arrogant. There is a PR story behind this figure that I think gets told Monday or Tuesday of next week. So
I think you spilled the beans already.
Did I?
You did somewhere else, I believe. But we'll
did I spill the beans someplace else?
Peanuts. Yeah, spilled the peanuts. But let's leave people, because they might not have seen that. So let's leave them.
Don't go searching for the internet on it. Just like lay back and let that's a Christmas present you haven't unwrapped yet.
Right.
Let it wait.
This is a very cool figure. You guys will like the little backstory on this. So we'll keep that for the PR team for next week. So looking forward to that. Halloween Kids, obviously the little bucket here.
Yeah.
And you have Mummy Boy.
Yep.
Which naturally, it's cool, man.
Halloween Kids, I just had a bunch of them. They're in the other room now. So.
Yeah, you. And then
they're super fun.
Now, this Mummy Boy colorway.
Yes.
What is this? Japanese vinyl. Okay, Mummy Boy. So is this, obviously, I would believe this be the first time in this color? Oh, you've got it in front of you right
there. As you can see, that's not even all of them. We've been making Mummy Boy. So Mummy Boy started out, maybe I'm off on tangents here. Tangent time.
Tangent time.
If you go back to the impetus of Super7 when we were a magazine and we were making lots of Japanese monster vinyl. That's now, it's cool again, but in 2001, that was a very small group of us, and we made lots and lots and lots of stuff over the years. In doing so, I always wanted to have a store mascot, sort of like a 1950s mascot. Think about, sort of how they use Colonel Sanders, but really like SO Oil, like the little oil drop, Ready Kilowatt, Bob's Big Boy.
Burger Boy, yeah.
Yeah, all that stuff. Like, what's that cool, fun 1950s? You know, it's Manny, Mo, and Jack from the Pep Boys. It's all that, right? Like, what would Super 7's mascot be? And I came up with this drawing of this mummy, you know, because we'd be kind of monstery, kind of spooky, but still fun and playful. And I decided that we were going to make it a store mascot, and we were going to make a vinyl of him. I did not expect that anyone would like this, because at the time, what we were really known for was our really crazy Godzilla and Toho series vinyls and other like, you know, monster vinyls, fight figures, like, you know, less cute, if you will.
Right.
So I was like, no one's going to really get amped on him, but who cares? I want to make this because this is what I want for the store. You know, Super 7's mascot. And then to my surprise, this became more popular than all the other stuff we'd ever done. Like, and
wait, look behind you. How many colors have you had now? I mean,
this isn't even remotely all of them. I think for this version with the head at this scale, we're somewhere between 55 and 60 releases. Wow. But you got to remember that when we were making vinyl in Japan, so we went and found the original factories that made the toys in the 60s, and that's where we were making this stuff. Like nerdy, get deep in the well stuff. I mean, these were $50 each. They're like 65 now.
Yeah.
With the yen and everything else. Like, it's not cheap to make this stuff in Japan at all. Not with this quality, especially. So, you know, there's lots of people that came in the store and be like, oh, that guy's great. How much, you know, $10, I'll buy one. That's 50. Yeah. 50 bucks is that's a heavy pickup.
For something that is your creation, not a well-known at the time.
Exactly. But at the same time, here we are, you know, somewhere between 55 and 60 versions of it later. And then we had a store for a brief moment with a friend of ours in Florida for a year where we made an iterative him that's Mummy Gator, because that's the Florida version. Then you have Bat Boy up there. That's Mummy Boy's best friend. Pumpkin Boy. This is Halloween. We make cool. Pumpkin Boy. And you know, and then we've done them. There's that size. There's the
16-inch. There's the big ones behind you.
The big ones. Those are not Japanese vinyl, though. That's why they're affordable. If they were Japanese vinyl at that scale, they would be ungodly expensive.
I was going to tell you the blue one. I just bought one.
This one?
No, the 16.
Yeah. We've still got a really great quality, but it's a different kind of vinyl. What kind of vinyl that you use here?
Yeah.
Only has a shelf life of 5 days. So you have to dye in, order it, and use it within 5 days, or it goes bad.
So, you mean print it out and make it like where it's done?
No, curing and pulling the vinyl, or it goes bad. So this vinyl doesn't really get used anywhere else in the world. Plus, it's expensive as all hell. So it's taken us a long time, but we figured it out through Supersize of how to make vinyl in China that's a higher quality, and it's still slightly different though.
So the one you showed off behind you, that is this one
that is that one. Yes.
You have it already, right? Naturally. Yep. Okay. All right. Well, I don't feel so excited about my 16-inch now.
He's rad. No,
I know he's rad. He's awesome. But I mean, I want that. I was looking forward to. I bought the. I don't know if you saw them, the Mondo soft vinyl scare glows, and they are. I'm not a professional, so I can't tell you where they come from, but I can tell you that they do have that soft vinylish plastic feel.
It's a different material. They're not. I know where they're making and know what to do. I don't want to talk about that. But it is good quality stuff. It's good quality stuff, and that's why it costs what it costs.
Yeah, I was like, man, this is so cool. I was like, so that's why I ventured into that. I saw Mummy Boy. I saw the big one. I was like, I grabbed one of those. So, yeah. But But that's good to know. I'm glad you educated us on that little tidbit there. So they're not all the same. It depends on which size you're buying.
Yeah.
And that's why the cost is what it is, because of where they're coming from and how the process takes what it takes to make it.
Yeah.
What else we got here? All right.
Ooze bat.
That's another one.
Yeah. Ooze bat is, there's one here. Hold on. I'll grab it. So ooze bat is from the early days of Super 7. So this scale, which is a bit smaller, so this scale is what's called a fight figure. The first fight figure is one of the first designer toys ever made. You can argue it one way or the other, whether or not the bounty hunter Skullcoon or the Coco Bat or Fink Shit by Takeshi from Coco Bat came out first. We're talking within weeks or months of each other in 90, I want to say it's 98. My memory might be wrong and it might be 97, but I believe it's 98. Either the Coco Bat Fink Shit or the Bounty Hunter Skullcoon was the first designer toy to ever come out. They both came out right about the same time. The Fink Shit, it looks a lot like a rat fink.
Okay.
It's playing on, so his take shit from, everybody in America is like, what? Take shit from Coco Bat. He's the bass player in Coco Bat. His real name is Takeshi, Take She. And so his stage name is Take Shit. Because if you're Japanese, that in English, it works, right?
I got you. Yeah. Right? I'm following you. Yeah.
So anyways, so within that vernacular, what Takeshi did with the Fink Shit is it's kind of a rat fink head, and then it's like a shoot fighter body, because he did MMA and shoot fighting as well. It wasn't even MMA back then, but he did shoot fighting.
Octagon, it was like
so the body has gloves and little shorts. So that's then Secret Base, who's friends with Takeshi, then made Skullbrain. And Skullbrain is he's got boxing gloves and the shorts on, and it was meant to fight the Fink Shit. And then from that, within Secret Base, then you made the Skullbee, Pusshead made the Skullwing, and I made the Ghost Fighter.
Okay.
So we were all making those fight figures through Secret Base in Japan for years. I mean, we still make some occasionally. And then Gargamel came along, made their figures in the fight figure scale. Realhead's original figures were in the fight figure scale. And then we later launched a line called Snakes of Infinity that was modeled after like a Shocker team from Kamen Rider. And so here's all the villains that you would fight. So we made a faction of villains that were in the fight figure scale. So this is a long way of getting to, you have Ooze Bat here, which was designed by a guy named Chanmen, a friend of ours in Japan that did a lot of the illustrations. This is loosely, it's halfway between Hedorah the Smog Monster from Godzilla, and there's a US toy called the Ooze It. Do you know the Ooze It?
No, I'm not familiar, no.
You know, when you edit this, you can throw up a picture of Ooze It. And it was a gross monster that you filled with slime, and you squeezed it and it poured out of its eyes.
Okay.
And its
I know what you're talking about for that. Yeah, I just didn't know the name of it.
So that's the Ooze It. So these things here are like the plugs in Ooze It, but then the body of the figure is like Hedorah the Smog Monster. Now, this colorway would be colored to match the Bullmark soft vinyl issue of the Hedorah the Smog Monster toy that's yellow vinyl with orange, green, and black. So
can I ask you
stories to get to here?
how have you not lost your mind with all the stuff you have to keep in there? Because
it's not that. It's like we're building stories. Like everything is referential. Like
that's true, but you have so much knowledge of all of these toys, all of these things, and then you're also making new things, and then to grab a colorway of a figure that right and so let's say you have 5 of them and you grab one, you're able to tell a story on each colorway and
There's
say
a
what it
reason for it.
references. Right, exactly. But I'm saying how you retain so much information. It's amazing to me. I just think that it's, you just have so much knowledge.
Well, I guess maybe we're not doing anything by arbitrarily. It's not lucky.
That. I understand that.
If you will, maybe you could argue part of the reason that we are successful is like whether you know the story or not, there's a real story here, and there's a reason that this looks like the way it does.
That's what I mean.
It's just arbitrary. So I will use an analogy I've used before, which is why do people care about the Mona Lisa? It's not like it was painted any way technically superior than another painting. It's not like the subject matter is different than any other painting on earth. There's plenty of, aristocratic portraits out there, but there's something in when Van Gogh was painting that. I mean, not Van Gogh, sorry.
Not Van Gogh.
When Da Vinci was painting that painting,
right?
He put some layer of emotion or some layer of intent into that painting that is non-tangible, that even if you don't know what it is, it resonates with people without them knowing why. And
that's what these figures do. When you see these.
In all of this, we have spent, whether you know the story or not is almost immaterial, but we have spent the time making sure that we've put all of that in here. And I think people can pick it up, and whether they like it or not is sort of immaterial, but people can see the intent in there. Even if they don't know what it is, they know it's just not thrown into a box and like, hey, maybe somebody will give me $10 for this.
Correct. No, it's an art. I mean, it's art is what it is. And really, so
it's passion.
Well, I was gonna say, so when I look at it, if like going back to the 10 wind up toys, the Tricycle. I told you I'd had no recollection. I didn't even want that. But when I saw it, the feeling that I got from seeing it was just like a memory of something that sparked in me, and like I could tell, what's put behind. I don't know, it's hard to explain, but that's the same thing you're referencing, in my opinion. Yeah. With this is someone may or may not like this, but what's put into it, like you just explained a whole situation behind this one figure. As someone may look at and go, oh, that's a cute vinyl figure, but they don't understand exactly, mixture with the figure, with the ooze, the colorway, where it started from, how long ago you were making stuff like this. I mean, it's just when I said retaining information, there's just so much to everything you look at,
But I think that that's our job. And,
I agree to a point. Yeah. I mean,
and I think when we are, if you go back to, I'm sorry, I'm bad on tangents. I'm always in tangents. Like, for anybody listening, where I got my start is graphic design. Still have a design studio. But the whole point in graphic design is, a lot of people think about it as the aesthetic of it. And that is true only to a very small point. Point in graphic design is to communicate information, 100%. Okay. And within design, every choice you make, no matter what it is, either helps convey the message or detracts from the message. There is no middle ground. There's no gray in it when it is done well. So you pick a font. That font, whether the person reading it knows it or not, has an entire history behind it. So that font is going to either help you convey, like you want to convey authenticity, like you might very well use a Garamond or a Bodoni or a classic newspaper font.
Correct.
Because that is how people are used to digesting factual information versus more whatever. But it's like
people, like an ad. That's why if you see an ad that's trying to attract you, or you see a caution, you use a different font for a caution or like danger. I understand fully what you.
And so a lot of times people use them more as decoration, like, Comic Sans or Papyrus or whatever, right? They'll be like, oh, this was going to it feels fun. Well, it feels fun because of all the other history that's got you to this point. Now, is it appropriate for your message? Probably not. But that's the difference between very good designers and something just sort of getting done. And I think it's within everything. Like, I'm going to go on another tangent real quick. Like,
go ahead.
We did a project. We were working with Estevan Oriol, who, if you look him up, he's most famous for all his LA gang photography. Okay. He's also, and his music photography, black and white, just amazing, amazing stuff. And he was like, do you know why all the Hispanic gangs use like Gothic, like old black letter fonts for graffiti? And you're like, or you see it in cars. They always use this really sort of old school black letter, like what you would expect out of an old Bible, right?
Yeah, I got you.
And he's like, the reason is none of us knew how to speak English, but we knew the LA Times was the authority. And that was the font that the LA Times used for their branding. So that meant that this is where you put it down. You use that. That is the most serious font in the world you can use.
Well, so I was in a lowrider club when I was young, and I had a plaque, and it had that font, like you're talking about. And until this day, I did not know that. So it's interesting. We're way off topic there, but that is it's amazing to know.
But that's the whole thing. Like, why does that work? So, but then you're like, but why does that font work so well in that situation? Is because they're trying to project, if you will, ownership and authority.
Yeah, that's what it did. It does.
And that's what it did. And it works seamlessly.
It does.
But if you would have said, well, let's pick out a gang font, you would have never gone to black letter. Never in a million years.
Wow. So in other words, when I'm ready to do something professional, I need to come to you.
It's not that. It's just more. It's more if you line up all the
truth, man.
So if I had done this, but then taken this same thing, we just told 3 stories about why this is. We've rolled 3 stories into this. But if I decided to take a different story that didn't jive with what we were trying to do, because he was trying to make Japanese toy meets English American company, so I'm mixing Ooze It with Hedera. They're both slimy, blah blah blah. That's when it comes out where you're like, that doesn't make sense. I don't really like that. I don't get it. Because the ideas are fighting themselves versus meshing with each other. And that's where a lot of
the content, we just, not content for purposes of putting it out, but the stories we were able, like you said, 3 stories we were able to go over off of that one. That's just that one.
Yeah.
Not even, that's just that one figure. And if you look around behind you, I mean, you've got, I don't know. That's why I was saying, as far as retaining information, there's just so much to everything. And you can go off tangent for days.
I can go off. I'm good at that. But, sometimes the story doesn't have to be complicated. Like Bat Boy up there was like, Mummy Boy needs a buddy. And if you're a mummy, who else is in the tomb with you? Oh, the bat. All right. So we're going to make a bat that looks and feels like Mummy Boy and their buddies. But I didn't try to also give it a peg leg or a sword or anything. I didn't try to, all of that would cloud the message, right? That doesn't make any sense. Why would he have a peg leg? He came out, it's like sometimes all you need is that little germ of an idea, but you stay true to the idea. You don't let it get clouded so that when somebody sees it, they get it, they understand it, and that's it. You're communicating visually, and you want to make that story as clear as possible, and get from your intent through execution as directly as possible.
Well, it works for sure. I mean, I appreciate the stories. Like, I don't mind going off. If obviously time permitting, we're in a
we're gonna have to do a second part a little later today.
We'll part
which
two,
we can do it later today if you want.
No, it's up to you. Yeah, it's totally up to you.
I'm ruining your interview, so it's okay.
You're not ruining anything for me, bro. I'm not here to look. I'm doing this for me, to be truthful. That may sound terrible, like I don't want to be self-centered, but I'm just trying to do something. I don't need to go crazy. I enjoy the followers I have so far, and people seem to be enjoying themselves. I'm just trying to make people happy. Bring on guests who are of a positive mindset and want to bring everyone along, and that's why, I wanted to have you. I've been wanting to have you on for a couple of weeks. We talked about when to get you on. You did a little thing with me at Joe Fest. I appreciate that. So no, I'm doing this for me to learn some things. I'm not up on everything. I'm down to learn.
I think we've only made it to tile 3.
We haven't gotten all the way through that yet. But one of the things, let me say too, is when I started my channel, one of my first videos, I said, hey, let's hear you here. I actually started an email address for that. I wanted people to come on. If you have a small collection, if you're small budget, no budget, whatever, if you want to come on and talk, you do that. And so it all ends of the spectrum. You don't have to be full on. I'm getting ready to get you off, Brian. Tell them you're
no. They were just dropping something off. I'll call you later, or call me after you get out. Cool. All right. That's it. Somebody was just dropping something off.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm cool with this, man. This is fine. You go off if you need to go off. We've got
go off, and we're never going to get finished. That's all right.
That's all right. Well, because
let's do the next tile. Let's do the next tile.
Oh, look. Okay. So
or jump to a tile you want to talk about. We don't have to do them all.
All right. Well, I've already done my tile. I did my tile. What's this last tile? Hold on. Wait a minute. What's this last tile?
What tile?
There's a tile that's you can't. Oh, dang! You can't see it.
I can't see it.
Hold on. Yeah, you can't even see it. I'm sitting here telling you something you can't see.
It's true.
All right. So 11 is,
Ghost Groon.
It's Groon. Yeah. All right. Light up Thundercats. What's this last tile over here? What's going on with this?
I don't know.
Well, you're the boss. What do you mean you don't know? You gotta come on. You gotta give me some goodies.
Give me something.
You gotta give me some goodies. He's like, I'm just messing with you. Don't worry about it, man. I don't know. I saw it a minute ago. I was like, wait a minute. Are we doing a number 12?
Yeah, there's a number 12, I think.
There is a number 12.
I'm pretty sure there's a number 12.
Pretty sure.
You gotta remember, I haven't looked at this in a long time.
Well, look, let's pull this up for a second, real quick.
All right.
Turtles, obviously, there's a lot of talk about the articulation, the elbows.
Yep.
Some people are excited, some people aren't. I don't know. There's whatever's going on.
You're never going to make everybody happy. You're never going to make everybody
happy. I seen the bonus super pack. I know it's the heads. And then now Conan, I'm familiar with. Cole the Conqueror, I am not familiar with. If you could real quick just break that down for me.
So Conan, when the comic book run really started going, and I don't know, I'm not going to pretend to know everything about Cull. I'll tell you what I know from Cull from my point of view is the Conan comic book got going in the 70s, Barry Windsor Smith starting it off with issue 1, and then it turned into be a big hit. So how do you make another one? Well, there was another character that in that world called Cull the Conqueror. So they made another comic book that was Cull. So for me, I know it from as a kid having Conan and Cull comics. I believe that there were Cull books beforehand. There's somebody watching here that's going to know a lot more about Cull than I do. My knowledge of Cull is really limited to the comic books that I read. But I was like, if I'm making Conan, let's make Cull as well.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, does he have? I've never seen him before.
He's not anywhere near as popular as Conan. Let's be frank. But he's still cool.
All right. Well, since we're on the Conan branch here, I don't know what tile it is. Let's see. Oh, let's not get into this. Is this not even TNC anymore? I know. Well, hold on.
Well, it's the same people that drew it and came up with it. It's just the people that own the rights to TNC and the people that own the rights to the character are two different groups.
So Town and Country is different now. Surf than the Gorilla. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's jump to this because we've got about I don't know, 15 minutes left max, if that. So this Conan, this 5.5.
Yep.
This is ready at Comic-Con?
Ready at Comic-Con. You will be able to buy it and walk away with it.
Is there another version of this, or are you only doing this one for now? The war paint?
Well, think earlier you talked about how we would talk about a line of figures and how things would come out, and what would be the San Diego version would be kind of, you didn't need it to collect the line, but it was a nice to have, right?
But we don't have any of these
today.
Well, that's what's odd. See, you did the flip reversal here. You went first, or you almost, well, I don't want to get into another company, but other companies have done in the past. I've seen one company do it, is where they drop something twice. They've done it for Comic-Con, and then a line precedes it afterwards. So are you telling me we're going to get more of these 5.5s are coming? Obviously.
Yes.
Obviously. Okay.
Yes.
I saw the Misfits. They're up for pre-order right now. Early order, you can order those.
Misfits, Samhain, and Danzig.
Okay. What other IPs are going to allow you to venture as of right now? Can you say any? Do you know any?
I cannot say any right now.
Are you looking into it though?
I've already looked into it.
Okay, I like that. Is there any chance that Thundercats could come in a 5.5?
I cannot.
Any chance? I'm just saying, are you saying there's a chance?
Come on. Am I saying there's a chance? Yeah. Dumb and Dumber style? No. I would say the chances are very strong.
Okay. All right. Well, for right now, we've dabbled in a few things. Obviously, Mikey's pizza van, we couldn't get into that. I mean, there's so much stuff.
We can go into, we still got a little bit of time here. We got 12 minutes, 14 minutes, right. And then if we want to jump back on a little later after this other meeting, we could jump back on today and finish up.
Okay, we can do that. We'll do that. We will touch on Tiamat real quick.
Okay.
Because this is amazing. Now, let me look real quick behind me. Let me just show everyone. So I put these behind me. I did the little D&D. These are the Hasbro figures. I did not open them. No offense to Hasbro. They had some quality issues with the plastics and stuff. So I left them in the box. Usually I like to open my stuff. Unless I buy two, I buy one to keep and one to open. But after I saw a few reviews and people were complaining, I said, I'll just leave them in the box because the box art looks cool. And the way they set up with, they form a little scene. Yep. Now I'm only familiar with D&D as far as the cartoon, other than the card game. I'm, obviously I think a lot of people are familiar with that, but going back, and I know She with the Dragon, she was in the cartoon, but going back to some of the older stuff, because it's the 50th anniversary, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So the 50th anniversary, that's going to be based on the card game or the board game, or like what is
the role-playing game is what started first.
Okay.
The role-playing game. That's where it started. So this is the 50th anniversary for D&D, and the pop-up that we'll do is a little bit of everything. It's a little bit from the beginning all the way to modern. And we're getting ready to very quickly here deliver wave 1 of the D&D cartoon ultimates. And we've, much like you got a Cat's Lair, or you got a Snake Mountain, or you got a Turtle Van, or you got a Thunder Tank, the big item for D&D has always been Tiamat.
Yeah,
there is a vintage Tiamat toy.
LJN, right?
Yep. There's a big. Yeah. Wait.
It's LJN.
So yeah, and but it's not sort of in scale. And then the first thing you would do for anybody that wants to talk about scale is, in that cartoon, you can watch versions of it where Tiamat is 1.5 times the height of Venger. You can watch other versions where she's 20 times the height
of
Venger, or about, like, her scale changes everywhere all the time.
Right.
So that's first. But we're like, you got to make this, the Tiamat has to be big enough to tower over the characters themselves.
Well,
and
20 inches by 15 and a half. What is 15 inches there? I mean, that's pretty large. I mean, that's a very
it's substantial, but like, if you wanted to get into true scale, somebody could easily argue that this needs to be 4 feet tall. That's not even reasonable to put in your house. You know, it needs to be relatively reasonable to pull off.
That's the same argument with the Thunder Tank having to fit under the paw of Cat's Lair. Like, Cat's Lair needs to be.
Cat's Lair would be bigger than your house then.
House, right? You know, it's like, come on,
it'd be a 2-story house.
I get it, but it's, you know, everything's relative to what you're making. So you made the tank big enough to fit the figures.
Yeah,
you make the layer big enough to fit the figures. You don't make each one to fit each other. So
coming back to this is, you know, we've been talking about Tiamat for a while, and you know, everybody's like, what about Tiamat? What about Tiamat? And you know, Tiamat creates a lot of problems because of the sheer scale of it and all the parts. And for those that don't know, injection molding tooling, what you make, you know, regular action figures out of, is really expensive. Vinyl tooling is cheaper, but your material costs are higher. So my vinyl cost me a lot more to make than injected action figures. Just because the materials, you know, 4x the cost. So with injection molding, you pay a lot for the molds, but then the plastic isn't that expensive, relatively speaking. Vinyl, you don't pay a lot for the mold, but the material and the vinyl is really expensive. What it allows you to do in the case of something like Tiamat, where let's be fair, the world of Advanced Dungeons and Dragons as a license compared to Turtles or compared to anything else, it's a very narrow Venn diagram. And even within that, the amount of people that can buy or afford or interested in Tiamat is even smaller. So where I can say Turtle Van to some dude walking down the street and he'll be like, oh, yeah, that was the thing the turtles drove around in, right? You go, Tiamat, they're going to be like, no, I got nothing for you. I got nothing for you. So in a case like that, what we had sort of figured out we figured out a business model that worked in our super size, which is the oversized vinyls, where they're lower production run quantity with the quality that we like. And we're able to get to them by making vinyl molds versus injection molds. If I was trying to do that quantity in injection mold where I had a high material price and a high tooling price, I can't get there and make it amortize.
Right. I understand.
So we spent a bunch of time trying to figure out if we could translate Tiamat into a vinyl. So this is the first ultimate scale vinyl. So this allows us to get into some big pieces for ultimate scale, different manufacturing process, but that can sit next to each other on a shelf and completely be compatible.
Do you have, so you expect the run to be less than most of your other lines because of the more niche product or IP anyways.
Yeah.
Do you have a price point for this yet for the pre-orders?
Yeah,
I haven't seen it. I didn't see it.
And like I said, I know we went back and forth on the price quite a bit, trying to get it, you know, like, what if we do this? What if we do this? What does that mean? You know, we've gone back and forth. So I don't know where it finally landed at. Because we finished that conversation, you know, 6 months ago, but it was floating all over the place for a while. Like, well, what if it happens if we get to this quantity? Well, what happens if we make it this scale? What if we make it 20% bigger? What if we make it 20% smaller? You know, all that kind of stuff. So it's in the realm of a typical super size / smaller vehicle. So I want to say it's going to be 300 or 350, but I don't want to be held to that.
That's fine.
I know we kept, you know, our goal was how do we get the price down? Because we know the more affordable it is, the more people can afford to get one.
Right.
But there's also a certain sort of floor that you can't sort of get past.
Yeah.
Like, I don't remember the exact price. I'm sure it will be announced here the next day, but it's going to be an open pre-order just like any other Ultimate.
Okay.
We're going to debut it at San Diego at the D&D 50 Years pop-up. and then open it up for pre-order. And
I feel special. I wish you were bringing it on to show everybody. Like, look at this, you know, like check how cool this thing is, man.
See, there's first. It's in there. The painted output is in there.
That's awesome.
So,
well, and just so you know too, Brian, the reason why I'm looking this way the whole time we're talking is because I have a dual screen.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at the stuff that we're back and forth about. So anyone thinks I'm not giving the attention to the camera, it's just that I have another screen and I'm just checking out the stuff as we're going over it. But Brian, I know you got to run for something else. If you want to hop back on later, if you want to wait, it's up to you. That's completely up to you.
Why don't we? So obviously,
I'll cut it.
So everybody's watching. We'll cut.